have with us Resa Lord, and I'm going to introduce Resa. She is our program for today. Dr. Jo Reed could not be here today, so she asked if we would just carry on in her absence, and that's just what we will do. Resa Lord is a two-time alumni of Columbus State University. She obtained her graduate degree from Georgia State University and earned certification as a pediatric nurse practitioner in 2000. Nursing has been her lifelong career for 28 years and counting. She changed gears in 2008 when she joined the CVCC family as a nursing faculty. She says that she never would have guessed that when she started her career so many years ago that she would have landed in nursing education. Resa believes in lifelong learning and feels she is an example to that end. Her interest in nursing education began as a clinical adjunct and blossomed from there into the classroom, teaching a variety of topics from health assessment to leadership and many topics in between. Resa's husband, David, also works in healthcare. Her oldest child is currently pursuing her degree in nursing, and her youngest will graduate from Northside High School in 2018. She spends her spare time serving those in our community through her church and work activities. A hearty welcome to Resa Lloyd. Thank you so much.
Well, good afternoon. I'm happy to see all of you, and I'm glad I do see some familiar faces and some that look familiar but can't quite place them. I'll figure it out later today. But I'm happy to be up in front of you. When I was getting ready to come speak, Dr. Jones said, well, just talk about your story and what you do. And I'm like, I'm not good at talking about myself, but I'll give you a little bit about myself, and then I have to brag about our school. So I have truly been in nursing for 30 years. That 28 plus, I think I'll stick with the 28. When I say 30, it sounds kind of old. And I worked primarily at the medical center for most of those years, and if it weren't for the medical center, I wouldn't be where I am today. The first time I went to school, I earned a scholarship from West Georgia Medical Center in LaGrange, and I was ready to be married at the end of that associate degree program, and I didn't want to move to LaGrange. And so Columbus Regional bought that scholarship out. I was amazed. I was like, yay, I can stay home. I don't have to move away. So they bought that scholarship. I worked a few years and I said, I'm not happy. I want to do more. I want to learn more. And so I went back to school for my bachelor's degree, and I used tuition reimbursement for that. And thanks again, Columbus Regional, for doing that. And then I still wasn't happy, and I wanted to go back again. And each time working in between, and each time on peds. I never left peds. I did 6 months of adult care in surgical ICU. I learned what I needed to learn, and I was like, get me out of here, because it was not for me. I just don't do adults when it comes to health care. So I went back to school, and this time Columbus Regional did a tuition program for me. They paid my salary, my benefits, and my tuition. And they don't do that anymore. That was back in the days when healthcare wasn't the way it is today. And so I was very excited. And then I only had to pay them back in time. And seeing United Way sitting over there, seeing Chandra sit over there, I chaired that campaign while I was at Columbus Regional. I've been very active with United Way for many years. Chaired the campaign at CVCC. So if it weren't for Columbus Regional, I wouldn't be where I am today. My other story, the other side of my story, is that in my first degree program, like many of the students at Chattahoochee Valley Community College, it was Columbus College back then, so it was kind of like a community college. And I wasn't successful in my last semester, believe it or not. And I was on my own. I didn't have any family support, but I made it through. And I remember an instructor saying to me, you, and this was her voice because she smoked all the time, she said, you of all people I expected to pass. and because I had missed it by like less than a point. So it was very heart-wrenching and heart-rending, but it made me a stronger person. And I look back and I think that is what made me who I am today. And in my intro, like Roz said, I never, ever would have guessed I would be in the position I am today in education. So through my nursing career, as I moved along in Columbus Regional, and anything from a staff nurse to a charge nurse to a nurse practitioner, I kind of dabbled in education. Nurses never have just one job, never. We usually always have more than one, and I can't tell you the last time I just had one. Right now I have two. And so I dabbled a little bit in clinical for the college, for Auburn and for Southern Union, and I enjoyed it. And I met Dr. Blackwell, and I thought I was going to work at CV at one point, and I was like, no. Anyway, so here I am. I took my position about 8 or 9 years ago, and at the time, some of you may remember if you're from this community, about 8 or 9 years ago, the nursing program at CV was really floundering. We lost our accreditation. I was a new nursing faculty, and I thought, what have I gotten myself into? We sat in a room. The Alabama Board of Nursing was in administration at the time, and they said, somebody's got to step up to the plate. And there was a small core group of us, and they all looked at me, and I'm like, what are you looking at me for? So here I am. We regained our accreditation in 2017, so it's been in 2012 we regained our accreditation. So that has been a great thing. We are due for accreditation this fall in October. That's where I've been. This morning is finishing up the final touches on our report to send that off. So we're very hopeful and confident that we will continue for another 8 years. It's been a very long, hard journey with a good, strong group of nursing faculty, and I'm very grateful for them and the hard work that they do. CVCC has, the nursing program has been in existence since 1977, and we've never actually closed our doors. So losing accreditation doesn't mean you can't produce nurses. It just means something for those nurses if they should try and get a federal job or if they move outside of the community. So there's a lot of small details that people fail to see, and so it sounded very negative to the community, but we were still producing nurses and we still had board approval, so that was all great. And we've produced over 1,000 nurses to this community, to the best of my calculation, since the inception of the program, so that's really a great thing. And we're entering a new, tomorrow's the first day of classes. We have 63 brand new nursing students entering, and we had the highest retention rate for the class that entered last fall to now, since we have probably for about 5 years. We had 52 students enter in the summer semester into their third semester, and 51 finished. So that's really saying something, especially since we changed our curriculum. And we have 3 different, I'm the chair of health sciences at CVCC, and I'm not just over nursing. I'm also over the nursing assisting program, and I'm also over the medical assisting program. And we have lots of options for all of those programs as far as students and how they enter the program. They can come in through dual enrollment. It's interesting how the conversation in the room, how I pick up on things, how we all have commonalities. There's adult ed, which is becoming a new trend, is for people who are enrolled in their GED at the same time to also be enrolled in a college class. So the first place we're starting with that is with nursing assisting. So you're going to have GED students enrolled in that class at the same time they're getting their CNA, or their Certified Nursing Assistant certificate, which is really great because when they finish that GED, they're automatically employable at that point in time. We have traditional students, and of course for nursing we have what we call mobility students. Those are students who are already licensed practical nurses or paramedics, and they apply to the program, and they pick up the last 2 semesters of the RN program, and they finish with an associate degree in nursing. So we have, with the new exciting thing that's happening within the nursing programs within the Alabama Community College, is that we're working on stackable credentials. So once a student is accepted into the nursing program, after it's a 5-semester program, after the first semester they're eligible to take their CNA exam. After the 3rd semester they're eligible to take their practical nursing exam, and after the 5th semester they can take their RN. And what makes that good for students in our area, especially with Fort Benning nearby, and because we serve in one of the poorer counties in Alabama, is that if a student has to move away due to military reasons, or if they have a family to take care of, they can stop out at any one of those 3 points and get a job if they need to. Or they can get a job while they're still in school, which is what a lot of the students who finished in the 3rd semester this past summer, that's what a lot of them are going to do. And they're getting ready to take their LPN board now, but they're still continuing into their 4th and 5th semesters, so that by spring, by May, they'll be ready to take their RN board. I'm happy to say that medical assisting is one of the fastest growing programs that we have on campus. They are easily employed. Medical assistants are the jack of all trades. They are used in a variety of areas, everywhere from the office, the clinic, the hospital, even in occupational medicine you will see them. So there's a lot of places where medical assistants are being used. We have our classes in medical assisting are not huge, but it is growing. We anticipate around 20 graduates in the spring, which will be our largest class. It continues to grow each year. We have a 100% pass rate on their national certification, which we offer at CVCC, so they do not have to travel to take the exam. And we have a 100% job placement rate for those students. So normally those students do their preceptorship in their last semester. It's kind of like an internship. And usually where they do their internship is where they end up being hired, which is a really great thing. We're always looking for placement spots. So if you know somebody, if you have a colleague who has a medical assisting position open or uses medical assistants in their office, we're certainly open to that. And finally, back to nursing. Like I said, we're getting ready for our accreditation visit in October. There will be a public meeting, and that's always open, and we always advertise that. And if we would encourage people from the public to come support our program and offer comments. So if you see that advertisement and you're interested, you're welcome to attend. It will be on the college campus, and it will probably be October the 11th. Our final agenda hasn't been approved yet. We have a 95% pass rate for our RNs who took the boards in May of this year. So we're very proud of that. And a 100% job placement rate for those RNs who finished with that RN degree. So that's a little about me and about our programs. I think I talked a little fast. Can I answer any questions? Yes.
Can you break down the difference in the amount of the starting salaries for the different areas, CNA, LPN, and RN?
Sure. That's a very good question. So the LPN and the medical assistant, the interesting part about that I watched over the years is that quite often nowadays, a medical assistant will start at or above the same pay rate as an LPN. And they're starting around $15 an hour. And RNs are starting anywhere from $20 to $25 an hour and up. Depends on where you work. There are lots of differentials out there as far as shift differentials, units worked, level of education. The level of education, not so much in our community, in our bi-city community, but if you move to large metropolitan areas, that really does make a difference in your pay. We actually had 4 or 5 of our graduating class in May that actually moved to other states.
How many RNs did you have to graduate last term?
42. Yes.
You mentioned accreditation
Mhm.
and that you're up for that
Mhm.
sometime in October.
Right.
How often does that process look like?
So when we lost our accreditation several years ago, we had to reapply like we were a brand new program. And that was a 5-year rotation because we were new. This time in October, when we renew, will give us 8 years. So we're very excited. It's an 8-year term. Yes, sir.
So what happened to the students during that time?
That's a very good question. So we have assisted all of those students. They all I shouldn't say they all graduated. The ones who graduated were still able to take their NCLEX RN. They were still a registered nurse. They were still approved by the Alabama Board of Nursing. When a nursing student, and there are lots of schools across the country, lots of nursing schools that are not accredited. And I now serve as a site visitor for ACEN, which is our accrediting body. But what happens if that student who graduated from an unaccredited school applied for a federal job, they will be turned down for that federal job. That's one thing. And then the other thing is if a student, and this doesn't always happen, sometimes, many times an associate degree nurse will go back to school for their BSN degree. Depending on the school, they may or may not accept the student. Most of the time nowadays, they will accept the student. They will just have to do some additional prerequisite work prior to entering into that program. We were blessed that we had the support of Columbus State University, who worked very closely with our students who graduated at that time and wanted to go back to school. So we have a very good relationship with them, but they are all registered nurses. Yes.
The number that you spoke of in terms of graduates with CNAs,
Mhm.
LPNs, and RNs in our region, is that meeting the workforce demands for our area, or is there still a growing need for nurses and healthcare providers?
There is a large need for medical assistance. Huge need for medical assistance. I don't know what the push is. There's a huge trend across the nation for medical assistance. And in our area right now, because we have so many nursing schools in the community, I feel like that need is being met. No nurse goes without a job. They may have to work somewhere where they don't want to be, a shift they don't want to work, or maybe a unit they don't want to work, but they can get a job. There are places in the country that I have traveled to attend conferences or to do an accreditation visit where nurses are struggling to get jobs. But here in our community, nurses they can get a job. It may not be what they want, but they can get a job. Yes.
Is there a pay differential for an RN associate versus an RN with a bachelor's?
Oh, yes, ma'am. The higher you go up in your educational level, the more you should make. Again, in our geographic area, that doesn't always occur, but with the implementation of career ladders, and Columbus Regional is trying to do that, I believe that if Piedmont does buy out Columbus Regional, that there will be a clearer career ladder for those nurses who go from associate to bachelor's to master's. But definitely, especially once you get into the management level of nursing, you do get paid that differential for your education. And at St. Francis, I know they have a ladder, but it's not clear to me. Yes.
As a nurse practitioner, what's the difference between that and the RN?
So as a nurse practitioner, I am able to diagnose and treat a patient, where a nurse simply does primary care. She does assessments and may make recommendations, but I can actually diagnose, treat, and bill a patient's insurance.
How's that different from being a PA?
A PA, and I will always be a nurse, that's my thing. We are, for lack of a better way to describe it, nurse practitioners are more holistic in nature, where and they are a concept model. We take care of the whole person. Where and they need a degree to go to PA school. Guess what? You don't have to have a degree. You can go straight to PA school, and you can be a PA, right? And it's a medical model. So it's all about business. And they do. They're not bad. It's just I like the caring and the teaching part. The PAs don't always provide that. Be interesting to if you've seen who's seen both a nurse practitioner and a PA. I've seen both. Do you see a difference? Yeah,
It is.
there is a
It's
difference.
a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the nurse practitioner seems to know more than the doctor.
They do love us.
Well, in my case, that's what happened, and they seemed more caring, they took more time, and I guess when I went back to my doctor, I said, look, from now on, I'm going upstairs and see them.
They do love. I love my nurse practitioner too, and that's another thing. I've done NP work for 10 years. No, 17 years. 2000. Wow. 17 years. But I like the time I get to spend with my patients. I'm not in a rush. And when healthcare started to turn and it started to be about the dollar, I don't know how physicians who've been around longer than me do it, because insurance it mandates what we do. But I wasn't bound by the clock. You have 20 minutes for this visit, or you have 15 minutes for this visit. I like being able to sit down and teach the parents and the child about their asthma or whatever they like, or what's wrong with them.
Anyone else? Thank you, Resa.
You're
so
welcome.
much.
Thank you.
Give her a big hand.
I hope I met your needs. Thank you.
Absolutely.